Hi, I'm Phil from Driftworks and welcome to another episode on my 964 Turbo. So in the last episode you saw us remove the engine, get it down to Matt at Fearnsport. And we also had the engine dry ice blasted before we took it to him. In this episode, we're going to be actually dry ice blasting some of the underside of the car and the engine bay in preparation for the engine going back in. There's lots of crust on the underside of the car that I've always wanted looked at anyway, and this dry ice blasting thing seems to be the nicest way to do it. In amongst that, I'm going to insert some of the footage that Matt from Fearnsport has very kindly sent me, disassembling the engine and working out what sort of condition stuff's in, and kind of giving me a better picture that enables the pair of us to decide what bits need ordering to create the perfect new engine for the car. So yeah, enjoy. So this is about 30 seconds into the ice blasting, and initially it's quite worrying watching it happen because the colour change on the paint is quite dramatic. It's quite concerning as to whether you're actually taking the paint off and seeing like the primer underneath it. One of the other things that became immediately apparent was that I should have taken a lot more parts off the car. Everything's getting in the way, the wiring dropping down, and the force of the air coming out of the lance of the dry ice blaster is like sending everything flailing. So yeah, in hindsight I would have stripped back a lot more of the engine bay in particular. But as you can see here, the process is absolutely amazing. The results, are way better than I thought they would be. And you're watching this bit, but wait until you see some of the aluminium components underneath the car. It's absolutely mind-boggling how good a job it does.
Hi Phil, good to see you yesterday. As you can see, the engine you dropped with me is now stripped. I'll just run through a few bits with you quickly. Crankcase halves here, main bearings, intergear bearings, the nose stroke number 1 bearing is there, oil pump, intergear chains, and the main bearings and intergear bearings from the other case half, just like the other side. The main bearings are in nice condition. The intergear bearings are showing signs of a little bit of wear, but that's normal given that the intergear drives all the top end of the engine camshafts and obviously has the load from the rocker arms and what have you, so all good there. The helical drive gear on the intergear is in good condition, as are the chain sprockets. So all nice. The fixings and fixtures from the bottom end are neatly put into a tray. Breather plate from the top, through bolt, and the nuts from the through bolts, pressure relief, pressure sender, temp sender, turbo feed, crank bolt, and the scavenger line fittings, and obviously the eyelet for lifting. The crank is here. I'm expecting to get good readings when measuring it, given that the main bearings are in such nice condition. As you suspected, the con rods are stock, running ARP studs and nuts. We'll have the crank sent off after I've measured it, and we'll have it polished and checked, but it should be all good.
So we're moving on to some of the bigger aluminium components. These are the rear trailing arms. As you can see, they are absolutely disgusting. This car has been well looked after its entire life. However, it's 30 years old and this arm is 30 years old. So I wasn't really expecting it to come up, absolutely perfectly. But yeah, again, absolutely blown away by the results and how nicely it's coming up.
Here are some more parts from the engine. Starting at the bottom, cam carriers, rocker covers, chain case covers, chain cases, and the oil filter housing just here. Moving up, we've got the air guides from around the cylinders. 5 out of the 6 cylinders here, and again 5 out of the 6 cylinder heads here, all with upgrade items fitted to them. Up in the top here we have the left hand bank cam gear and the right hand bank cam gear. Cylinders 1 to 3, 4 to 6, all neatly put into trays. Cam timing on the left hand bank, as you see, is 1.07 millimeters of lift at TDC, and on the right hand bank it was showing 1.2 millimeters of lift at TDC, so a bit of discrepancy there, but that's going to be sorted out anyway. The cam shafts are M6401, which is standard Carrera cam shafts, given that it has the drive for the power steering, whereas the RS doesn't have that drive, but essentially the same cams. So they're NA, not the original turbo cams. The left-hand camshaft, as you can see, the surface has broken up considerably, so this camshaft will need replacing. It's quite common for these cams to do this. Also, given their age, it's not a problem. Same for this camshaft, although not quite as bad, but it's got a couple of pit marks there, so you know that this is certainly only going to get worse from here on in, so won't be using those anymore. Some of the rocker arms, as you can see on the bottom left of that rocker arm, again, that's pitting, so we'll talk about replacements. So we'll do a cam rocker arm upgrade at the same time.
Dry ice blasting is really quite expensive compared to other forms of media blasting. The media itself is super expensive because basically it disappears if you don't use it quickly enough. They have to buy in these boxes or large containers of dry ice, and basically I think you have like a day or 2 days perhaps in some cases to actually use the material, otherwise it just evaporates, just goes away. So a big part of pricing jobs, I think, is probably making sure you buy the correct amount of media, these dry ice pellets. Another big part of it is the actual cost of the machines themselves. This particular one is a Karcher one, and I think the lance that they're using includes something called a splitter, which the dry ice pellets themselves are broken up in the main machine with a big disc that spins round. But I think this splitter makes sure that the media size is really quite small, so again ensuring that it doesn't damage the paintwork as best as possible.
Just over here, the cylinder heads. I've just chosen one of them just to add to this video. They've had a very nice ring groove put into them, as you can see. None of them have been leaking to the outside of the ring, which is great. It's been done nicely. Good job. Barrels and pistons here. Again, just one from the set. You can see here the ring groove in the top with the ring still positioned in the cylinder. Pistons are in good condition. The cylinder leak of all of the cylinders bar the one with the leaking valve were very good indeed. I will measure these cylinders just to make sure they're nice and round before saying that we're going to use them again, but given the figures, we're hoping that everything is good. I'm going to strip the cylinder head shortly. Just another quick look at the crank. I'm going to start with the cylinder head that's got the leaking valve, and then once I've done that, I'm actually going to take two of the cylinder heads and just check their exhaust and intake valve spring install length, so we get a bit of information back from it. So currently, that's everything. Once I've stripped the cylinder head, I'll do another short video and update you. Thanks, Phil.
We're now moving towards the front of the car. Again, it's slow progress. It's such a time-consuming thing because in detailing mode, in cleaning mode for this machine, the flow of particles is actually slowed down quite dramatically. So yeah, a lot of care has to be taken to not miss any bits, and often you sort of go one way down the car and then come back the other way to make sure that it gets in all the angles as best as possible. But yeah, Frank's doing an absolutely awesome job here, and I'm really happy with how it seems to be coming up at this point. that is us, 7:30 on a Friday night. We've used all of the boxes. There's some left in here, but the problem is it's actually sort of going off a little bit and it's getting stuck in the machine, and we keep having to stir it around and start again. Yeah, so the machine is getting very unhappy, and I'm just being, you know, overly particular in some places. There will obviously be parts of this where we've missed things, because getting the lancing everywhere is absolutely impossible. I think you need a little detail one, really, a little hobbyist version. But look at it, it looks absolutely phenomenal. I am very, very happy with it. Particularly, have a look at the front here. So the way it brings up some of the zinc stuff is absolute magic. Look at the steering rack. And the lower arms. This has still got, what happens is you blow it off this side with the dry ice, it ends up landing on there. So what it actually needs is air lining off, a bit of brushing, a bit of cleaning, and yeah, it'll come even better than it looks now. But yeah, super happy. Thank you very much, Frank. You're a star. Wicked. Thank you very much for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next one. Give us a like if you enjoyed the video.